de idee met het tribunaal is begonnen omdat 1,5 jaar geleden waren een delegatie hier in Europa van boeren uit Colombia. Die hier gingen 2 maanden lang door Europa toeren en informatie geven wat de consequenties waren van het vrijhandelsafkommen tussen de VS en Colombia. En de consequenties van dit afkommen waren eigenlijk dat de Colombiaanse regering een soort nieuwe landbouwwet had opgezet op druk van Monsanto. En een deel van deze wet was dat het de boeren verboden was hun eigen zaaigoed te gebruiken, te kweken, te ruilen, te verkopen. En dat wordt dan ook daartegen was natuurlijk dan ook een soort opstand. Mensen kwamen in het gevangenis. De regering stuurde het leger op naar de boeren en ging duizenden van tonnen zaaigoed vernietigen. En ik maakte dan kennis met die boeren uit Colombia die hier waren in Europa. En dat was voor mij eigenlijk het moment waar ik begon mij te interesseren wat Monsanto eigenlijk doet. En ik ging dan recherches doen en kwam daar eigenlijk achter dat dat niet alleen de boeren in Colombia zijn die last hebben van Monsanto, maar wereldwijd miljoenen van boeren in dezelfde situatie. Waar Monsanto gewoon druk gaat uitoefenen op de boeren, damit ze niet meer hun eigen traditioneel zaaigoed mogen gebruiken. En met al die recherches die ik ging doen over Monsanto, daar kwam ik natuurlijk, viel ik natuurlijk altijd op internet op de naam Marie-Monique Robin, die Franse filmmaker, die al de filmen had gemaakt over Monsanto, de wereld volgens Monsanto, een voorbeeld. En zo raakten wij dan in contact. En ja, op die manier in het gesprek ontstond dan de idee een tribunaal te maken, een internationaal tribunaal tegen Monsanto. Wij dachten eerst, wij doen dat gewoon voor de internationale strafhof in Den Haag. En zagen dan dat dat geen mogelijkheid is, omdat ten eerste moet de aangeklaagde fysiek aanwezig zijn. Dus dat betekent dat werkt alleen als managers van Monsanto naar Den Haag komen, dus dat was geen optie. En het tweede probleem was dat de Amerikanen begin 2000 zich hadden teruggetrokken van deze internationale strafhof. Omdat ze zeiden het is niet transparant. En dat was onder Bill Clinton in die tijd. En ze lieten dan ook een clausule achter in het statuut van het internationale strafhof. Dat zal ooit een Amerikaanse burger voor deze strafhof zijn, mag de Amerikaanse president deze laten bevrijden door een bewaffnede actie. Dus, oké, dat was dus geen optie. De enige optie was onze eigen tribunaal op te zetten. En dankzij al dat groot netwerk wat Marie-Monique natuurlijk heeft over de hele wereld, vonden we dan mensen een beetje overal die zeiden oké, wij gaan samen een voorbereidingscomité opzetten om dat tribunaal ook realiteit worden te laten. En wat een belangrijk punt is dat tribunaal dat zal niet alleen een soort moralisch tribunaal zijn, zoals jullie kennen misschien rasseltribunaal, zegt jullie iets misschien. Maar de idee is dat wij ons echt, onze basis zijn echt bestaande wetten, zeg maar. Op basis van die Monsanto wordt beoordeeld en daarna misschien veroordeeld. En een ander belangrijk idee is ook dat in het gevolg van het tribunaal wij ook met de bekendheid die dan er is, dat wij de getuigen van het tribunaal willen helpen in hun landen, waar ze vandaan komen, echte, reële processen dan te beginnen tegen Monsanto. Ja, dat is een beetje zeg maar de inleiding en ik denk dat Marie-Monique nu nog iets kan zeggen.
Bonjour. Buenos dias, guten Tag. I will keep on in English because I don't speak Dutch. I'm sorry. I'm the author of the book and documentary The World According to Monsanto, which has been both released here in the Netherlands. If you don't know them, you have to read the book and see the documentary to understand what is at stake with our initiative. I will answer a few questions that people are asking most of the time about this initiative. Why first do we support or did we accept to join this initiative launched by René? Because as you know, for an increasing number of people around the world, Monsanto became a sort of symbol of a chemical and intensive system of food production. Here is, you are proposing other way of producing food, but Monsanto is it's an industrial intensive food production system which threatens the safety of the planet. Since its very inception at the beginning of the 20th century, it has been marketing high toxic and harmful products like PCBs, for instance, or Agent Orange, two herbicides mixed together and used as a weapon during the Vietnam War, or Lasso, or the infamous Roundup linked with GMOs, genetically modified organisms. And these products have permanently damaged the environment and caused illness or death for thousands of people around the world. And moreover, these products have really accelerated the loss of biodiversity and contributed also massively to global warming. This is the first question, why did I join this initiative? The second question often asked is why do we do this International Monsanto Tribunal? According to its critics, and there are many critics around the world, Monsanto has been able to maintain these products on the market because of a systemic strategy of concealment. They are concealing data. If you read my book or see my document, you will see how they are concealing all the data they have. Concealing the data to the citizens and to the authorities also. And not only concealing, if they have data showing that, for instance, PCBs is carcinogenic, they don't give the data to the authorities and say there is no problem, it's not carcinogenic. They are lying. I say really because they are lying. And I said it in a lot of places, like 7 parliaments around the world. I have been invited in Japan, in Canada, in Brazil, in Argentina, in Brussels, in Paris, and I said they are lying, okay? This is a fact. They are also resorting to corruption. There are many cases well documented about corruption to impose their products on the market, and especially for GMOs, there are cases well documented. They are financing biased studies. It's very interesting to see how manipulating science, paying scientists, and sometimes fake scientists. There's a lot of tricks, dirty tricks, what I call dirty tricks in my book and documentary. And pursuing also independent scientists. This is all our allegations, and the Monsanto Tribunal aims to assess these allegations. The second point, which is also very important, I'm traveling a lot for my documentaries, and I met a lot of people who are victims of Monsanto. Maybe it can be, as recently, a mother in Argentina who gave birth to a child with a birth defect, very severe birth defect. And actually, it's a case very interesting. I mean, if you are looking for proofs, because we know that, for instance, Roundup, which is used for GMOs and a lot in Argentina, there are about 22 million of hectares of transgenic soybean sprayed at least twice in a year or 3 times in a year with Roundup. We know that Roundup is what we call an endocrine disruptor, a synthetic hormone, acting and having an impact at very low doses and especially on fetuses during the pregnancy. And if a woman is pregnant and exposed to a very low dose of Roundup during the 3 first weeks of the pregnancy, it may lead to a birth defect, for instance, or to testicle cancers. I made another document, another book, also available in English, called All Daily Poison, where if you want to have more information about this mechanism. But for this woman in Argentina, you can imagine how difficult it is to make a claim against Monsanto. It's impossible. It's completely impossible. And therefore, one of the goals of the tribunal also is to give the possibility to these people who are victims of very harmful products, for instance, to make a claim in a court where professional and well-respected judges will sit. And in this sense, I say always, it will be a real tribunal because we will have real victims, real legal cases, real judges, and it will be a civil court. That means that the judges will. The goal is to get maybe reparations for the damages suffered by the victims, and we hope that it can make some sort of jurisprudence, where other maybe judges around the world or lawyers really rely on this on the sentence of this tribunal, saying we have some tools, to go ahead, because it's very difficult to make this kind of trial, The tribunal will rely on the guiding principles on business and human rights adopted at the United Nations in 2011, and this guiding principles impose responsibilities to the corporations with regard to human rights, like the right to a healthy environment, the right to food, to health, to freedom of information, and the tribunal will also rely or assess potential criminal liability of Monsanto on the basis of the Rome Statute, which created the International Criminal Court in The Hague in 2002. Therefore, also the proposition is very interesting to do it symbolically, at least in The Hague. Our goal is also to contribute to the evolution of international law and to the creation of a new crime, which should be ecocide. I very often give an example when people are asking, what is ecocide? I will give the floor to Emily, who is a lawyer and working for this initiative End Ecocide on Earth, who will explain what is ecocide. But I give this example that in the 20th century, we had the big tragedy of the Shoah, the murdering of millions of Jews in Europe. And this led to the creation of a new criminal figure, which was a crime against humanity. In the 21st century, we have new challenges, new tragedies going on, global warming, biodiversity extinction, and so on. Therefore, we need a new figure, a new legal tool. Before giving you the floor, just to explain in a few words what is ecocide, I would like just to know now what will happen in October 2016, 5 days in The Hague, between the 12th and the 16th. The first 3 days will be more festivities and debates, and we spoke during this meeting here about a seed festival, a film festival, debates in different places about issues like owning life, poisoning life, attack on science, where people can will come from all over the world to give their testimony. And on October 15th and 16th, there will be the formal tribunal where, with a sentence of the judges who will decide about Monsanto's liability. And what can you do? How can you support? There are two options. First, for the first 3 days, every association, every group, there are many here people who are doing things, they can join and propose something, an activity during these 3 days. More generally, for the organization of this tribunal, we need money because it's a lot of work, and we need professionals to help us, all the volunteers from the initiative. And we have created a crowdfunding platform. There is a link. You just you put Monsanto Tribunal, you will see how to do it. It can be €1, €10. I mean, the idea is that there are many, many people behind us. The idea will be 1 million people giving €1, you know. It's also the idea, yeah? It's also a citizens' tribunal in the sense that we want it for the reasons I explained before. And we also will need volunteers in The Hague, especially during the 5 days, and many volunteers. This is another way, and you can get in touch with René or through the website. Now, maybe Emily, you could just in a few words explain what's ecocide and why we need it to be recognized internationally.
So, hello to everybody. So, my name is Emily Gaillard. I'm a lawyer, and I'm here today to talk on behalf of End Ecocide on Earth. So, End Ecocide on Earth is a grassroots initiative, that is to say, a citizen movement aiming to recognize the crimes of ecocide in international criminal law as the 5th crime prosecutable before the International Criminal Court, in the same manner as the crime against humanity, genocide crime, war crimes, or crime of aggression. Ecocide derives, the word ecocide derives from the Greek oikos, meaning house or home, and the Latin caedere, meaning strike down, demolish, kill. It literally translates to killing our home, the only one we have, Earth. So we have written a proposal of amendment of the International Criminal Court of Justice in order to prosecute ecocide. And this tribunal is a wonderful occasion to improve it, to ask real judge if confronted in real cases, the ecocide could be a new legal frame to prosecute Monsanto. That's it.
Well, very warm welcome to all. Let me thank you for your presence today. And let me say a few words as to the legal dimensions which have been already discussed by Marie-Monique Robin and Émilie Gaillard. There are 6 questions that the tribunal shall be asked to answer related to, first of all, the duty of Monsanto to respect the right to a healthy environment. The right to a healthy environment is a right that is increasingly recognized in international human rights law, and there is a very strong suspicion that the behavior of Monsanto is putting this right into serious jeopardy because of the type of agricultural production that the company rewards, because of the pollution of soils and water in various parts of the world that results from its activities, the reduction of biodiversity that results from the proposal to adopt genetically modified seeds, or indeed other types of seeds produced by the company. The second question is whether the right to food is violated. And this is because as farmers use Monsanto's products, they develop a dependency on inputs, seeds, pesticides, that may make it non-viable for them to continue to farm in the way they traditionally have. And we are familiar with many descriptions of how farming communities across the world are being negatively impacted by the use of Monsanto products that Monsanto aggressively markets in these communities. Thirdly, the tribunal will be asked to answer the question whether the right to health is being negatively impacted. There are very serious concerns as to the health impacts of ingesting GM food. There are very serious concerns as to the health of farm workers using Monsanto products, and we have examples across the world of communities who've been affected by the pollution caused by Monsanto. Fourthly, there will be a question asked to the tribunal as to the right of researchers to research on the impacts of Monsanto's products. We know that in many cases, scientists operating in good faith to study, for example, the impacts of GMOs or their ability to contaminate neighboring fields have been threatened, have lost subsidies, have been disciplined by the universities, or have lost their jobs in Aberdeen, in Berkeley, and today in Paris. And you are familiar, for example, with the name of Ignacio Chapello in Berkeley. Gilles-Éric Serralini was a late victim of this bullying of the world of science. We may not know for sure what science has to say about the impact of GM foods, but we do know one thing, which is that scientists are not allowed to work in full independence. Instead, they face threats, they face intimidation, and they face, in many cases, a refusal by leading scientific journals to publish their conclusions. Fifth, we shall ask the tribunal whether the behavior of Monsanto is equivalent to war crimes insofar as it supported the US Army's use of Agent Orange beginning in 1962 and led as a result to complicity in the war crimes committed by the US in Vietnam. Sixth and finally, we shall ask the tribunal to decide whether the behavior of Monsanto would be equivalent to the crime of ecocide that Émilie Gaillard has described. We believe it is important to recognize as a criminal act the large-scale destruction of the environment. Now, why is this tribunal being set up, and what shall be the role of lawyers in this tribunal? The tribunal is set up because we are aware that although many cases are being litigated against Monsanto across the world, governments still remain relatively inactive, and victims can only count on themselves to seek justice before courts. Governments should take seriously their duty to protect human rights, and one way to encourage them to do more is by publicizing widely the problems associated with Monsanto's behavior so that governments understand that they should do more and that victims cannot simply rely, despite the costs, despite the delays, despite the difficulties to organize communities, on the protection by domestic courts. Secondly, we believe that establishing such a tribunal is a way to give voice to victims. For many people, the major concern is not only that they develop cancers or that they lose their lands as a result of a bad harvest if they fall in debt. They also want to be heard, to have a forum at which these issues can be expressed, and that will be one function of the tribunal. Third and finally, there are alternatives. In my work as Special Rapporteur on Right to Food for the UN, I documented how agroecological farming practices that bet on diversity, not uniformity, that respect nature and understand the complexity of nature, rather than trying to domesticate and tame nature by monocultures, how that type of farming, based on the principles of agroecology, can be highly productive and can actually feed the world. And we should be aware that there is now a neo-Malthusian discourse about the need to feed a planet of 9 billion by 2050 that makes it very easy for the Monsanto and others to say that they have the only solution, and that by following their advice, policymakers are actually saving the planet from food insecurity. This I try to show in my work as Special Rapporteur on Right to Food for the UN. This is simply a lie. There are many other far more sustainable ways to provide well-being and health by developing sustainable food systems. So all this is what the tribunal shall try to achieve, and as Marie-Monique Robin said, we will organize a tribunal that will be composed of eminent jurists, high-level magistrates having shown their independence and their expertise to assess, on the basis of international human rights law, the behavior of Monsanto. Thank you.